Hello guys, this is Doran's Movies, and today I'll be giving you the lore of World Trees, explaining what they are, how they were created, and how they have affected Azeroth thus far. So without further ado, let's get into the lore. Thousands of years ago, when Azeroth was cleansed by the Titans, the Keeper Freya was in charge of the nature and the Emerald Dream. Whilst ordering Azeroth, the first thing she shaped within the dream was the Mother Tree, also known as Ganir. It was a magnificent tree, which was a source of healing and balance, and through it life swept across the land. Of course, Freya did create many of these sources of life across all of Azeroth in order to stimulate the growth of nature, but Ganir was the first, biggest, strongest, and the most radiant one. At some point, the tree became a haven for winged creatures, and the wild god Aviana was deeply connected to it. Unfortunately, during the War of the Ancients, the magnificent Mother Tree died as Aviana was killed by demons. The shock of her death caused Ganir to drop all of its leaves and the life it once spread. However, not all was lost, as a single branch with an acorn of the tree was found. The dragon aspects blessed it and planted it within the waters of the newly created Well of Eternity on top of the sacred Mount Hyjal. This new tree, also known as the World Tree, was given the name Nordrassil. Nordrassil was truly one of a kind, and not only was it vital to nature, but also to the Night Elves that lived around it. Through the World Tree, the Night Elves were given immortality, as well as much easier access to the Emerald Dream, allowing them to contribute to the balance of Azeroth. As great as Nordrassil was, it wasn't the only World Tree out there. Today we know that Shaladrassil on the Broken Isles was also of great importance and has existed seemingly before the War of the Ancients. This could make it possibly the first World Tree out there that is on the material plane, but it just isn't known yet. Alongside Shaladrassil and Nordrassil, there are also the so-called Great Trees, which are not as great as the world ones, but are nonetheless very important. After the War of the Ancients, the Great Sundering happened that split the world into what it is today. However, it also disturbed the prisons of the old gods that were chained underground, and their corruption started slowly spreading all over Azeroth. Night Elven druids were greatly concerned, and the Elder One, Fandral Staghelm in particular, figured out a way to seemingly fix the problem. He would secretly cut out 6 branches of Nordrassil and travel all over the world, planting them on the trouble spots that were infected by the old gods. Of course, many druids were against these ideas, as they knew that the dragon aspect enchantment played an important role in turning Nordrassil into what it is, but nonetheless, Fandral was optimistic that it would work and that he would plant new world trees. Not long after, new imposing trees sprouted in Ashenvale, Feralas, Duskwood, Hinterlands, and the Crystal Song Forest. Finally, the greatest branch of Nordrassil was planted over the biggest corruption spot in the mountains of Northrend, today known as Grizzly Hills. Of all of these new trees, the last one grew fastest, and the benefits were almost immediately noticeable, so the druids would call this creation Andrassil, meaning the crown of the snow. When Malfurion and the other druids found out, they were furious, but they slowly accepted it as the problem was seemingly fixed. Old god corruption was gone, new wildlife was spreading, and nature was stronger than it ever was. Unfortunately though, things would not be so simple, as few decades later, strange activities started happening specifically around Nordrassil. When the druids set out to investigate, they figured out the chilling fact that the tree had rooted so deeply into the ground that it had actually touched the prison of the old god val'sharah. Through this contact, val'sharah infused the tree, and soon enough his influence over the region became stronger than it ever was. Sadly, the druids realized that the only way to salvage this situation was to destroy the great tree. With reluctance and heavy heart, Nordrassil was broken down by the druids, and it would remain in that state to this day, getting the name Nordrassil, meaning broken crown. Again, this seemingly stopped the problem, but unbeknownst to the druids, val'sharah had managed to crawl his way inside the Emerald Dream and also give access to the other old gods, as well as use the other trees as portals, creating what we know today as the Emerald Nightmare. Aside from these great trees, there is an unnamed one that has been consumed by the nightmare today and is the home to Il'gynoth, the Heart of Corruption, although it was only ever in the Emerald Dream, which is a counterpart to the Ungoro crater that is in the material plane. However, the latest and the most recent world tree is the home to the Night Elves, known as Teldrassil. Teldrassil was in fact created only a few decades in the past and was supposed to be a replacement to restore the immortality of the Night Elves, as Nordrassil, as we know, was greatly damaged during the Burning Legion invasion. Unfortunately, it didn't complete the intended purpose and was even corrupted by the nightmare from as soon as it was created by a branch. Later on, this corruption was removed and it was blessed by Alexstrasza and Ysera, but it still lacked the blessing of Nozdormu, not really making it as great as the main world tree. Today, Nordrassil has managed to almost fully regrow, and Teldrassil is doing much better, but nevertheless, both of the world trees will never be safe as long as the Legion and the old gods remain active. Alright, and that is all I have for this video. Do leave your suggestions for what you would like to see next, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you want to see more content like this, and also like the video as it really helps out and keeps all the content going. Thanks a lot for taking the time out of the day to watch this video, and see you next time.